friends since the mid-'70s. I first knew him as Dr. T. Garrett Benjamin, as did the whole city of Indianapolis. Then it was Bishop Tom Benjamin. And now?
It is Bishop Tom Benjamin, Dr. Tom Benjamin, Tommy Benjamin. It depends on who's speaking. My wife calls me Tommy.
Oh, there you go.
May she rest in peace, called me Tommy. My friends who I grew up with in Cleveland called me Tommy. When I was in high school in New Hampshire, I was called Benji. And today, they just call me. I don't care really what you call me, long as I get a call. When you get my age, you just want to hear from somebody.
Nice. Well, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. You are in the desert of California. And we've been reflecting the last few days about our story, how we've played into each other's lives. What do you remember about us joining as friends and beyond?
Well, of course, I remember you, first of all, on the radio. You were a very prominent DJ on WTLC. And I think I met you through that particular medium, through the radio thing. And then I think we struck up just a friendship. And I remember you inviting me once to your home, and you cooked this beautiful fish dinner, and I'm of course, I'm blessed to think about how good the dinner was, but also how it started and ignited a beautiful friendship, of which we've kept for probably almost 40 years. Mm-hmm.
Or more. And actually, I look back, because I became a Christian not long after that, a few years, that you really, as a prominent, very high profile pastor, like the city, the city's pastor, really. And you reached out to me. I was on the radio, but you reached out to me to befriend me, and we're still friends. So I love that.
Yeah, real special relationship. I've been with you through thick and thin, and
true.
And I've watched you grow, and I watched you grow as a pastor. I think you still really have a strong word, a strong anointing on your life, and I'm grateful to you for the friendship, because we had something occur, and I guess you can talk about it a little bit, that really was major in the city of Indianapolis because of our friendship. Yeah.
Well, that's a great story. You fast forward maybe 20 years. I'm pastoring now and going through some challenges, and we had bought some land, the very top of the most prominent place in Indianapolis, at the top of that hill, really.
The highest point, arguably, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and God had worked it out for me to obtain that for our church, as it turned around, that we didn't really need it, but yet you were looking. What was going on with your church, Light of the World, at that time, where you needed land?
Well, we went through several transitions. When I came to Indianapolis, I came to a church that was already, the physical plant was already there, and it was the old Akron plan, probably held about 300 people. We just outgrew it so quickly. Yeah. We had to make a move. Well, we made a move to the east side of the city, to a congregation, to a church, a building that just seemed fitted for us, because first of all, it had a television facility in it. The gentleman who had been there for many years was one of the pioneers in Indianapolis in television ministry. And of course, that was something that I got into fairly deeply. And so Sure. The church was about 20 years old when we bought it, and we called it the Miracle on 38th Street, and it really did turn out.
And that indeed was a miracle that you got that building, correct?
Yeah, because, first of all, as a Black congregation in Indianapolis, or almost in any city, but in Indianapolis, on the edge of the Mason-Dixon line, getting $1 million loan to a Black congregation at that point was really miraculous all by itself. Yeah. But through a friendship,
you had favor all the way along.
I had favor
everywhere, from the mayors to the governors.
I had favor and friendships that really made a difference. So without getting into that, the president of the bank was a friend of another friend of mine who published the Saturday Evening Post, which you know about him.
I've been in Bert Servas's home. Is that who we're talking about?
That's who we're talking about. Bert Servas made the contact with President McKinney of AFNB, and that was how that took place. And so we got the $1 million loan. We bought the church. We spent another $350,000 in remodeling it and getting it where we felt it was, have a 5-star presentation. And though we stayed there for almost 20 years, and it was a blessing. It was probably, it was one of the high times in Indianapolis for church life. It was a powerful, powerful expression. Dr. Robert Schuller dedicated the church, and I never will forget that. He's the one that said to me, it used to be called Second Christian, and it was Second Christian when I came to Indianapolis, and when we moved there, we still kept the name, but Robert Schuller, who was really a real visionary in so many ways, when we were coming up to the church for the dedication, he said to me, Tom, why do you call it second? And I said, well, it was really not my call. It was something that I inherited. He said, you're not second to anyone. And that kind of hit me, And so I began to pray and ask the Lord, for a revelation on should I change the name and what should it be? And just as clear as I'm talking to you now, he dropped into my spirit, Jesus is the light of the world. Yeah. And you are the light of the world. And they are the light of the world. Let your light so shine before men.
Yes.
That they glorify.
You worked that too. And that building was on 38th Street, very prominent street. I lived where you and I had lunch at my house was just really right around the corner.
Yes.
So now it's the light of the world. And then you and I are friends and we're in and out of each other's lives. I'm pastoring, you're pastoring. And so at the point where we acquired the land, it wasn't but a few years later that it looked apparent that I didn't need the land. But at that point, you were in need of land, correct?
Yes, that's correct, because we had outgrown the second facility. So we needed space. And then God had given me, again, this vision of a city on the hill. I don't know how, he worked it. That's all I can say. But the city on the hill, a place where, we could grow and we wouldn't have to move again for another 40 years, 50 years, or 100 years. And
so I'm at a point where you're a friend, you're a few years older. Hey, 72 and you're 80. Scriptures didn't it say 70 years by reason of strength 80? So here we are. And I came to you, I said, can I come over and just chat with you? I need some direction, some fatherly type counsel. And I came to Light of the World and said, hey, I got this piece of ground. And what did you say?
Well, actually, we had lunch. And we then we were driving up Michigan Road,
Up the hill.
And it goes up. When we got up to the crest of the hill, it goes up past the museum, past the international school, which wasn't there then, but it was built.
But I said, there it is.
Yeah.
And
you said, there it is. And I said, there, what? And you said, that's the land that I own, or my church and I bought, but we really can't use it because it's more than what we need. And I said, and you said, and I would like to sell it. And I said, how many acres is it? And you said 40 acres.
I think it was 31 plus that extra.
Yeah, the 7. Other. Well, we took it. Yeah, we finally got it all. So it became 40 acres. This is my great story about getting my 40 acres and a mule. I'm still looking for the mule, but I did get to 40 acres. You understand? So yeah, go ahead.
So this became perfect for Light of the World, and this became the city on a hill. and just went into a great season of ministry and growth. And it was so cool that you and I hadn't been friends at that point for probably 20 or 30 years for that to transpire. And that made us both feel good, right?
Yeah, it really did. And then you see, this was a part of God's plan. This is not something that you were letting go and I was taking hold of just because we wanted to do acquisition and you wanted to get out of something. The history on this, and you might just say, oh, just talk a little bit because it's important for you to express how you got this land and how it's connected to the Christian church.
Well, Butler University is not that far. Butler University. And there was a man named Ovid Butler. And wasn't he a part of the denomination Disciples of Christ?
He was an elder in the Central Christian Church downtown in Fort Wayne in Delaware, which by the way started. By the way, that was the church out of which Second Christian came. See, Central Christian was first, then came Second
so
Christian.
This Butler,
and then came Light of the World. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And so Mr. Butler had this property somehow, and it was connected. And the owner of it at the time was a prominent businessman that God gave me favor with. We acquired it, got it paid off. And then as you and I learned that history about Mr. Butler, and that was not that long after the Emancipation Proclamation, correct?
That's great. 1866.
He said something to the effect of, this will be for our
African brethren, the African brethren. We want them to feel like, and that was Second Christian. That's how it started. Started on 9th and Camp, and then 29th and Kenwood, and then 38th Street, and then
I'm getting chills, Doc. I'm getting chills.
Yeah, it's a story, man.
Beautiful.
It's a great story. And
beautiful story.
You were, as they say, right in the middle of it.
It's a beautiful thing, man. And just to be able to partner with God, who is the creator of all things and the owner of all things. So, well, you're enjoying your retirement. I'm not quite retired, but I'm enjoying our friendship still to this day. And so I really want to thank you for being part of the Roger Holloway story. Yeah. You and I are going to be documenting your story and your legacy in the days to come. So that's what people need to be watching for as we talk about your life. Your greatest influence was your grandmother. Your greatest gift is your wife, still to this day. She was on the phone with us yesterday. And just how you went through the civil rights struggle, how you led a church that became so powerful where the mayors would call you and the governor would call you to ask your advice on things, and just a lot of radio and TV ministry. And so it's very exciting for us to document that as part of your legacy. And that's what's coming. So we're going to point people to that. But again, thank you, man, for being my friend.
As we close, if you will allow me to quote one of my dearest friends, Roger Holloway, who says it better than anybody else. Every black man needs a good white boy. And
that would be me.
Tell you something. You're the one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Love you,
Appreciate you, man.
Love you, man.
Love you, man. Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah.
Lifelong memories. I appreciate you.
Yep.
All right. We'll talk soon. See you in the next video.
All right, buddy. Peace.